would you feel if you had to spend your next Christmas at war? Would you be in the Christmas spirit, or would you feel pretty alone? I have been celebrating Christmas for as long as I can remember. It is widely celebrated throughout the US. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about World War I in 1914 and how the soldiers during that time experienced their first Christmas during war. So let's take a glimpse into the past to see how they survived such a festive holiday. I'm going to talk a little bit about the war and some of the expectations. World War I was an international conflict that lasted about 4 years between many of Europe's nations, such as Russia, US, and Middle East. During September 5th, Russia, France, and Great Britain became allied against these Central Powers, and the war began around August of 1914, and many people believed that the war was going to be done and over with fairly quickly, but it turns out that the Allied forces and Central Powers, they had around the same strength. They were very well balanced out, and this is why the war continued longer than people believed. And according to history-us.com, people didn't even believe that it was going to last to Christmas. People thought it was going to be done before that, but it turns out it didn't even end until November 11th of 1918. And next, I'm going to talk a little bit about the truce and how that came about. According to time.com, on December 7th, Pope Benedict tried to issue an appeal, and this appeal was denied on both sides of both parties in the war. And around that same time, it was German Emperor William II. He had Christmas trees sent to the front lines, and this is kind of what steamrolled the beginning of this truce to happen. And according to history.com, it was the German soldiers who were the first ones to break out the singing carols, and it was the British soldiers who responded, and they responded singing their own carols as well. And during Christmas Eve, British soldiers gave orders not to fire unless fired upon, and this order, there was no prior authorization, so the leadership during this time kind of didn't have a clue what was really going on. And on December 25th, it was the German soldiers who emerged. They were waving their arms, waving that white flag. They didn't want any conflict. And it was the British who joined them in no man's land. And according to history-uk.com, they exchanged gifts such as cigarettes, buttons, and hats. They started to do sports together, such as soccer. They were sharing food and drinks. And they also did other things, such as they were burying the dead. There was many soldiers who were dead that were left in no man's land for weeks at a time. These soldiers during war, they don't have time to go out and retrieve the bodies of their fellow soldiers and give them burials. So that's kind of what they joined together to do during this time. And next I will talk about how the superiors will prevent this from ever happening again, and why it was a bad idea overall. After World War I, the truce ended, violence returned on the Western Front, and it was Britain and Germany who took the steps to make sure this never happened again. Even though there were no punishments for the people involved in this truce, whenever Christmas of 1915 came along, they made sure it was to never happen again, due to them believing that it changed people's views and it caused them to kind of see the other side's point of view and see how alike they were. And even some of the trenches were around 100 feet. The distance between them was around 100 feet, and that's close enough to be able to hear the other side and smell their cooking and just get an idea of what's going on over there. And people assumed that this proximity could turn their soldiers' morals into a live and let live mindset, which they didn't approve of. And in conclusion, the truce of 1914 symbolizes the human desire for peace, no matter the situation. And even a century later, World War I truce is widely remembered as a testament to the power and hope during such a dark hour in history.